It's like somebody who, is on a whiteboard and they're drawing everything out and they're outlining everything and they are super excited about all the things they're dreaming about. And then they step back and they're overwhelmed with the idea of like making that a reality. They don't know where to start. They don't know, like, how do I, like, create this like product? How do I do this service? How do I, do this job or do that? And like, that's where a lot of people get stuck, is that like they get so overwhelmed with the possibility that they will shelve it, that they will shelve essentially their happiness, the thing that they want to go after, the thing they want to chase, the thing that gives them joy, rather than the possibility of them trying it and it not working out.
Welcome to Sheila's Take, your go-to podcast for thoughtful insights on love, faith, health, fitness, relationships, and navigating today's challenges through a spiritual perspective. Join me, Sheila Dunbar, as we explore various aspects of life with a mindful and godly approach. Tune in for engaging discussions on all things meaningful and transformative. Welcome to Sheila's Take, the podcast where I dive into stories and experiences of incredible individuals who are making a difference in the world. Today, I have the pleasure of hosting Jonathan Dumas, a career transition coach, organizational psychologist, and speaker. Jonathan is on a mission to empower individuals and groups to own their stories, unleash their skills, and cultivate workplaces where they truly thrive. With a unique approach that combines humor and curiosity, Jonathan challenges audiences to reconsider their biases and preconceived notions about how they are supposed to be. Get ready to have some challenging yet enlightening conversations as Jonathan shares his insights on joy, authenticity, community, and equity in our careers. So sit back, relax, and prepare for at least one big aha moment with our incredible guest, Jonathan Dumas. Hi, Jonathan. How are you? Welcome.
Yes, thank you so much for having me and for the wonderful intro.
Again, I want to thank you, but let's jump right into this interview. Now you mentioned the importance of joy, authenticity, and community and equity in our careers. How have these values shaped your own career and your career journey?
Yeah, so that's a fantastic question, and I hope you like the scenic route for questions.
It's all right. Go ahead.
Yes.
I don't mind the scenic route.
There we go. So I think for me, I wasn't able to like explicitly name my values, because those are my values: community, joy, authenticity, and equity. Those are a part of who I am, and it took me a long time to get there. I think a good portion of my life, I'm the oldest in my family, of siblings. I'm the first in my family to go to college. I'm the first to do a lot of things in my life, like that golden boy, child syndrome.
Okay.
And a good portion of my life, a lot of the things were told what I was going to do. My grandma, she wanted me to be a pastor all my life. My great grandmother, God rest her soul. And then, my mom told me I was going to be a lawyer. I had people, going to school. It's just like, oh, you're so smart. You do this, you do this, you do this. And so it wasn't until, I'm in my 30s now, and me, finally wanting to make decisions for myself, deciding what I wanted for my life, what I wanted in my career, what I wanted to do, until I finally asked the question, what is Jonathan about?
Right. Ooh,
Who is
a good
Jonathan?
question.
Yeah, and what do I value? And it really came down to community. If I'm not with people I want to do amazing things with, or just be with, or talk to, or whatever, then it's really hard for me to be invested in whatever. Even if I care about what we're working on, it's really hard for me to be invested in it if I don't feel like I'm in a community of people or folks, one, that look like me, the Black folks, but two, people that actually care about other people, people that desire to be in community rather than just like an individual. Joy, it's like I grew up laughing. My family, we get together, we just chuckle, chuckle, chuckle. So I think, just as often as I could be serious and like, have that. I love, love, love to laugh and like have like a foundational, I don't know, soul satisfying like chuckle. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then when I think about equity and authenticity, I think both of those go hand in hand. I mean, I've always been one. My mom raised folks of like, you don't take advantage of people. Like, you're not a bully. You don't do that. That's not what we
Right.
do.
Mm-hmm.
You stand up to the bully. You invite people in. You care for people. And I think when I think about equity, and even um, in my career, like some of the things that I've experienced, but also witnessed, equity doesn't always exist, whether it's for pay, whether it's opportunity,
Yeah.
promotions, so on and so forth. And so it's really important to me that um, in my life that I think take an equitable approach of uh, just because, you know, somebody else gets something doesn't mean, you know, I'm not going to be able to get something. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
operate out of abundance now. And so like if there is somebody who doesn't have anything, you know, then I want to make sure that they get all the support and care that they need to get to where they need to go, and so that they're thriving. And then authenticity is just like, if I can't show up and be my authentic self, you know, whatever, you know, I just started my lock journey, so I'm having a weird hair day today, but you know, you know, I just want to be able to show up as me, you know,
Right.
um, and I think that that's really, really important to me. And I'm always striving and trying to understand like who is Jonathan, and that's a ongoing question, ongoing journey. So those are kind of like how they show up in my life, but my life is intertwined with my work. So yeah, that's it. So that's the
So
scenic route, Sheila.
So are you still trying to find out who Jonathan is, or are you kind of at a point where you know, but you don't know, and you're still
Mm.
looking, or where
Yeah,
are you at
no,
right now?
that's a great question. I mean, I'm significantly closer. I think that, as I mentioned before, I feel like I'm talking in codes. I'll just I'll just open all up because that's authenticity. I'm warming up, Sheila. So I think that there's a good portion of my life that I was the only Black person in a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
spaces that I occupied. And so like I was told you're one of the good ones. I was told, you know, oh, don't be like them or whatever, or you know, don't be like the other Black folks or whatever. And so like I internalized that, and all of a
Wow.
sudden like I'm internalizing this anti-Blackness of like I am special, I'm the exception. um and I didn't realize like how what that was doing not only to how I viewed um my folks, my community, the people that like truly love me and care
Mm-hmm.
about me. um because when white people hurt my feelings, I always ran back to Black folks, you know.
Wow.
um
Yeah.
uh but but I didn't know what that was doing to my self-image. I didn't know what that was doing to how I looked at myself in the mirror. And so there was always this feeling of not being enough, of not being able to catch up, not being able to be successful, all these different things, because I was
Mm-hmm.
comparing myself to an image and a thing that was just created. I don't know who. I don't know. I can't be, you know, some white dude named Steve who grew up in the suburbs. Like that wasn't my story.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and so to answer your question, I think how I have grown in myself and like an understanding of who Jonathan is, and like on this search and of self discovery is like I am okay with like continuously learning about who I am, right? Like I love my Black skin. I love being
Mm-hmm.
my, you know, 6'2", slender self. I love like, you know, all the aches and pains I get when I'm getting up now because I'm
Oh.
getting older and whatnot.
Oh,
I
geez.
love my quirky little laugh. I love how my, you know, neurodivergent brain thinks. I'm just like learning to love like who I am,
Yeah.
without the world telling me, uh or these ideas of like what I'm supposed to be. And I think
Right.
that I'm working on every day doing that, like more and more. So I wouldn't say that I'm 100% there, but you know,
Mm-hmm.
I would say that I'm on my way. But I'm enjoying the journey, I
You're
would say.
you're you're getting comfortable um in your skin. And
Yes,
you're
yes,
getting
yes, yes.
and getting comfortable with yourself. I can totally, I can definitely understand that.
Mm.
And I'm a little ways older. I'm gonna use that term. I'm a little ways older than
Yeah,
you.
yeah, you're on the journey. You're a little bit further down. That's all.
I'm a little
Yeah, I
further
love that.
a little bit
Yes, I
further
love that.
down the journey. But you know, I can definitely understand that because I'm going through the last year. I went through I feel like a transformation health wise,
Mm.
um the way I look at things, everything, and I'm rediscovering so many new things about myself, you
Mm.
know. So I think that journey, I don't think that journey ever ends.
Yeah, I
'Cause I
agree.
think as long as you're alive, you're always going to be discovering new things. And as you get older, um, the things that you, uh, the things that you were interested in the past, or things that things are always going to come um into your life, and you're going to learn new things, and so you're constantly on that journey.
Hmm.
Again, I don't think that journey ever ends, so you're
Yeah.
constantly learning new things about yourself. And I'm telling you,
Yeah.
I've learned, there were so many things that I learned in this past year about myself, um and I'm like, wow, I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yep.
I started working out. I'm not, and I'm like, whoa, I can do this at my. I can
Yes.
go to the gym, and I can hang with the 20s and the 30-year-olds. I can do that now.
Yes.
But I didn't
Yes.
think I could in the past, because so that's something new I found out about myself. So
Mm.
definitely, you are an organizational psychologist, right?
Yes.
What is that?
Yeah, I know.
What is that?
I get this. I get so it's funny because nobody will outright ask me. They'll just assume that I'm just like, they start telling me their problems, like, oh, all they heard was psychologist. And I'm like, no,
Psychology.
no, 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 no. So, an organizational psychologist, basically, I study social behavior in a work setting. So,
Mm.
I do, analysis, trainings, um, all that stuff on how people function in work. And I've
Wow.
always been fascinated about work and how, why do we work? What makes people excited? What makes people not excited? And it all started, what pushed me to get a degree in this, because I didn't even know this field existed, was from my own work experience. I had a very, toxic first job out of college.
Mhm.
Um, and the thing that just like I was so curious about was like I don't understand how so many people come in just like super excited and all these people leave early. I saw people in this job, some of them had to go get therapy because of the way that they were treated
Wow.
in the work environment, and still to this day have like PTSD. I know of. It's just like the incredible amount of harm that like employers can cause. And so I just wanted to study it because I'm like, there has to be a better way to do this. Like this can't just be the way that work has to be. Um, and I discovered that there absolutely is. And yeah, that's what it is. And I study it. I love it. And I believe that like work doesn't have to be miserable, doesn't have to be sad, it doesn't have to be like soul sucking. Like you can find joy in what
Yeah.
you do. Um, and it's not all rainbow sunshine and unicorns or whatever. I think that there is a blend, right, of things that are hard, challenging,
Mhm.
um, that you're pushed, that make you think, that make you want to grow, but it shouldn't impact every other facet of your life when you're trying to do that.
Right.
And if you find a place where you're, 70% super happy and super excited about your job, like
Mhm.
70% of the time, you have landed in like a very, very good place. I run into so many people that absolutely do not like what they do, that they show up because, they don't want to get fired. They don't want to get fired. They
Or
need
they
a
want a
paycheck.
paycheck.
Yes, they just need a
Yeah.
paycheck. And I think that's unfortunate. Like it's really unfortunate that we live in a society where like we are stuck and doomed to just live to work rather than uh or excuse me, like working to live. Like
Mhm.
we're not able to like enjoy life. And I
Right.
remember having a conversation with my uncle a few years ago, and this was right before I went off on my own business, and I was telling him, um, yeah, he's like 70-ish years old
Mhm.
right now, and I was telling him like I don't want to like wait to like live life, like I don't want to wait to travel, I don't
Yeah.
want to do all that, and he's like, well, if you work hard now, you can do that, but there's no guarantee that I'll make it to 65 or even 55,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
why would I wait 30 40 years to like enjoy life when I can do that now. And so I think when I talk about like career joy, um, living life, and not necessarily having like work dictate and control um, your way of being, I think it's finding a balance and setting boundaries. It really has a lot to do with that and finding a place that you can that aligns with you, so that
Mm-hmm.
you're able to do that. So yeah, sorry, I went on a tangent. I
No,
really get like
no,
super
it's
passionate
okay.
about it.
Because I'm listening to what you're saying, and I, we go back to what your uncle mentioned, and
Mm,
honestly, even during my time growing up, that was one of the things that I was even kind of like told, and that's in a lot of people's mindset. I would say, you work, you work, you work, and then when you get at the time, I think it was 62 or 65, you can retire and then start. But
mm,
again, I'm noticing a lot more younger people are like, hey, that's for the birds. I'm not working
mm,
30, 40, 50 years to
mhm.
retire at 70. And like you said, you may not even get to 70 and live, you retire and then 2 years later, you're in the church, laying out in the church.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's that I totally get that. Let me ask you this. So you are a career transition coach and the
Mm,
organizational psychologist.
mhm,
What are some common challenges that people face when it comes to career transitions?
mm,
And what kind of I don't know, you mentioned like there are people who are and I've seen them too.
mhm.
People come into work, and I used to work with this woman, and she was the most disgruntled person you could ever want to work with. And then I mean, you see her in the morning, she never had anything good to
Yeah.
say. She never said good morning. She never said good night. I mean, she literally just came in because
Mm,
she had no other choice, you know. And but
mm,
so, how do you think people get to that point? And like,
mm.
why is that? I mean, do
Yeah.
you think is it a lot of times the job, or it could be the person?
Mm. Yeah. So I'll start with your first question. Like the
Mhm.
common thing that I hear from folks is like they don't believe that they have a choice. Um, And so when they are trying to navigate a change, this is the picture and image that I get. It's
Mhm.
like somebody who, is on a whiteboard and they're drawing everything out and they're outlining everything and they are super excited about all the things they're dreaming about. And then they step back and they're overwhelmed with the idea of like making that a reality. They don't know where
Mm.
to start. They don't know like, how do I like, create this like product? How do I do this service? How do I, do this job or do that?
Mhm.
And like that's where a lot of people get stuck is that like they get so overwhelmed with the possibility that they will shelve it, that they will shelve essentially their happiness, the thing that they want to go after, the thing
Yeah.
they want to chase, the thing that gives them joy,
Mhm.
um, rather than the possibility of them trying it and it not working out. Which to me, I had a conversation with a friend, Theon Freeman. Y'all look him up. He's a wonderful, wonderful human being. He reframed something around failure. And he said that we think and imagine that failure is the end and that there's no more after that,
Mhm.
But when we think about failure, um, when we reframe that, like there is so much possibility after that. Like
Right.
it's not over. It is just the opportunity for something new after that. We've
Mhm.
discovered something. And so I think that that's where that's the thing I see a lot. And it's not because of the individual person. I don't believe that fully. There's sometimes people just hard headed. But I will say that there is um, we've just been told a lie. Like all of us have been sold the lie that we have to do this, that there's only one way to succeed. There's only one way to be happy. There's only one way. And it's like to have more, 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 more.
Mhm.
Um,
Right, right, right.
or other folks are just in survival mode, which I think I get because I grew up a paycheck mom that hustled paycheck to
Yeah,
paycheck,
yeah, yeah.
and so I think it's a nuanced answer when it comes to folks, but I think I think there is, I think the thing that I keep telling people, the thing that I try and communicate to folks, that there is an option. Like there
Mm-hmm.
is another path. There is another thing that you can do, right? Um, and yeah, I just work really hard to help people discover that. Whether it's an exit strategy, whether it's discovering your passion, what do you value, who are you? Sometimes people don't even give themselves space to even ask that question. Sometimes it is like you were told, very similar to me, that like you had to do this thing, right? You
Mm-hmm.
had to be a lawyer, or you had to do whatever. And some people put that idea and thought into their mind, and like they've internalized it and they believe it's theirs now. um and and having given themselves space to ask, what is it that I want to do? Who am I? And I think when we start there, we're actually
Mm-hmm.
able to open up so much, right? Like we're able to open ourselves up to possibility. And in my entrepreneurial journey, what I've tried to lean into significantly more is like 8-year-old Jonathan, 10-year-old Jonathan was that
Mm-hmm.
who wasn't scared to try, who wasn't scared to experiment, who wasn't scared to like put himself out there. Um,
That's
and I
good.
think,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think if folks tapped into that a little bit more, they'd be surprised at what they find,
Mm-hmm.
and what excites them, what is possible. Um, yeah, and I recognize I'm speaking from a very privileged perspective now. Uh, but I think even if somebody has like circumstances that are limiting, I think the other question to ask yourself is, what is the one faithful step that you can take to get to where you want to go?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that
Okay.
that's the biggest thing too.
Wow. Okay.
I'll stop there. I'll stop there.
You,
Sorry, I got soapboxes. I'm sorry.
no, it's okay. That's why you're here. That's why
Yes,
you're here,
yes.
Jonathan. Come on, come on. Um, Now you have a unique way of having challenging conversations and sparking curiosity.
Yes.
Um, can you provide like an example of some of these conversations and how it led to um a transformative moment for someone you may have worked with?
Yeah. I'll there's one that always comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
So I was at this like uh racial convening probably 7 or 8 years ago. And it was at this like we got asked to go there. Me and my wife got asked to go there because we speak on diversity, equity, inclusion stuff.
Oh, okay.
We're passionate about it. And we were in this like we were in a church. We got asked to just be present, support like the space. And there was a gentleman that was sitting there, and we were talking about power and um, how the use of power, uh, you know, uh, we were talking about power in a way that like was making this gentleman very mad. He was an older white guy, and
Mm-hmm.
he was getting very upset. He was like, "Y'all are talking about," and he just outbursts like, "Y'all are talking about power as this big negative thing." He's like, power like gives us the opportunity to do this. Power built this country. Power did this. Yada yada yada. And I just like took a deep breath,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, I was sitting at this table, he was sitting right next to me. I said, "You're right. Like when power is used in a good way, it actually can create something that's wonderful. It
Mm-hmm.
actually can protect, it can support."
Right,
Um,
right, right, right.
and I said, "Do you attend this church?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Do y'all do good work in the area? Like y'all have this big old building. Do y'all do good work in the area?" And he said, "Yes." I said, "Do you believe that there is power there? Like you have some power because you have this building, you have money, you have all these things?" He's like, "Yeah." I said, "You're using power in a good way." But he said, I said, "There are people that do not care about the work that you're doing, that do not care about the people that you're serving."
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I said that is an instance of power being used in a negative way. And that's what we're talking about. And he just deflated. He didn't know what to do with that. And he's just like, "I never thought about it that way." And I said, "Of course you did it." Because you're an older white man who grew up in the suburbs and probably has a ton of power yourself. You didn't think about it that way because that's not your perspective. But it's just really like when I have conversations right like that,
Mm-hmm.
it's like I don't do it like that every single time. But my wife says I got so much patience. She's like, you have this wild like level of patience with people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because I'm genuinely curious. Like, how did you get to thinking what you're thinking? Because I
Yeah.
think what you're thinking is ridiculous. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know why you're angry. I don't know why you're upset. I don't know why. Um, but I'm curious as to how you got there. Uh, and I want to actually like partner with you and connect with you on a real level, to understand where you got there. And if you are off base, then I want to show you my perspective or like learn you a little something,
Mm-hmm.
if I can. Um, but oftentimes it's really like leaning into that curiosity, and not meeting people with that same energy sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I can because my mom, my mom, so my mama is she raised three of them,
Mm-hmm.
that don't play. But
Yeah.
I think that there's something that like that is like my, I don't say weapon, but that's my tool, is like that curiosity, that patience, um and that boundary. I think me keeping my cool and not meeting people sometimes when they are hostile, or a little bit more aggressive towards me when I'm having a
Yeah.
conversation with folks. Um, that's actually my boundary. I'm not going to take on whatever you're trying to give me right now. I'm actually going to continue on having a wonderful day.
Right.
Um,
Right. Right.
you know what I'm saying? So that's how I've seen it. That's one example. But there's so many. There's so many.
Yeah. I know, you do you discuss, like, I know you must discuss a lot of taboo topics, right?
Yeah.
How do you handle that? Like,
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I think, okay, so when I like dive into like taboo like topics, I try to like understand, I try to be honest with myself about what
mm-hmm.
I know about the topic before I dive into it. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? Like I try and like, what do I know about this? Like, is this my experience? Have I experienced this before? Do I know somebody? Did I just hear this from somewhere? Um, and if I don't know nothing about it, then like I try and catch myself when I'm trying to like chime in
Mm-hmm.
or chip in
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
add my 2 cents. Um, and ask myself, like, do I even belong in this conversation? Right? Because there's
Yeah.
some things I just don't like. Well, I don't belong in here. Um, but then it's like the other thing is like, no, I actually know a little something about that, or like I want to explore it in a way that like I want to grow in my own understanding. And so on my podcast, we talked about one of the taboo things we talked about, taboo, is we talked about like black masculinity. And this was that we started having this conversation
Mm-hmm.
at when it was inspired by these dudes. I don't want to give them press, but like Fit and Fresh, and they were having some really toxic conversations. One, like degrading black women, and I don't play that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like having these ideas like the alpha male or whatever, and I'm like, gee, that is made up. Like it's like
Yeah.
that's whatever you're talking about. It sounds like you're insecure. And so I just had a bunch of like black men on the conversation, black
Mm-hmm.
men on my show to talk about like what is masculinity to you? Um, what does that look like to you? How have you explored that for yourself?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Because this is
Yeah.
how I've explored it for me. And just like living in that nuance and not trying to like prove myself right or prove somebody else right or wrong or whatever. Um, I try and like sit in the tension, in that level of uncomfortableness, uh, in like that challenge, of myself. And if it's too much, I like back away. But I think that there's sometimes conversations need to be had because we have to like push against those like negative things that are
Yeah.
trying to overload our minds and stuff like that. So that was one of the fun ones. But I also like love conversating and exploring and diving into those taboo things. So I'm like, oh, let's just talk about it. If we're good, let's just be serious. We're gonna be serious
Yeah.
about it. Let's just talk about it. So
Well,
yeah.
I think we're coming into, we're in a society where a lot of times they don't want to talk about a lot of taboo things, and
Mhm.
sometimes, to get knowledge or to make people aware, you have to, you know.
Yes.
I'm just gonna say this, something, um one of the things that is really, taboo in this society now is, they don't believe, or some certain people don't believe there's racism. And,
Mm,
me growing up, I can tell you, I experienced it. I
mm,
went growing up. I lived in Brooklyn, and I was at the time bussed out to a school in Queens, and
mm,
it was very, very. We had a lot of racism there, and
mm,
then we went to a junior high school with a lot of that. Um, so there definitely is racism, but it never, and I experienced it. However, it never changed my view on how I perceived uh other races, or
mm,
it didn't, because of what I how I was treated on my brothers or my friends,
mm,
or my classmates.
mm-hmm.
It didn't never change me, because I would never say, oh well, they're all like that.
Yeah, yeah,
um because I know it's not, but
mm-hmm.
those are certain topics. A lot of things are taboo, and they don't want to talk about it, because then they have to face the reality that it really is something is happening.
Yeah,
But what advice do you have for, I'm just going to go back to the career and so forth, but
yeah.
what advice do you have for individuals who kind of feel stuck or
Mm.
unfulfilled in in their current careers?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And I think it's so interesting because in my practice, in my coaching practice, I tell people that all of it's interrelated. We talk about our
Mhm.
life, we talk about the things that we experience, our stories, our work, like all of it's interrelated. And if we don't believe that, we can go back to the example of your old coworker who was less than friendly, right?
Oh yeah.
But
Ooh.
there was probably some things that she was carrying, right?
Mhm.
That she every single day to the workplace, right?
Yeah.
Um, that one way or another was preventing her from experiencing some level of joy. And joy looks different for everybody. I'm not gonna,
Mhm.
joy looks different for everybody. But like, you know, so when I say that, it's like, if you feel stuck or lost or not sure what's next in your career, the first thing I would ask is, or the first thing I would invite you to explore, um, is what are you feeling?
Mhm.
When you think about your career, when you think about your career journey, where you're at right now, how you got to where you are, what emotions do you feel about it, right? And be honest about that experience. Be
Mhm.
honest about what you're feeling. I think when we are not where we want to be, or there is a, I'll speak for myself. When I, um, there was like a good 10 years where I was just like so confused about like what I'm doing about my job. I think I was just focused on making more money.
Mhm. Mhm.
And like each job that I kept getting, I kept romanticizing what this thing was going to be for me. And I didn't actually ask the question, like, is this true? Like, what do I want?
Mhm.
Whatever. And so I just kept trying to, I didn't acknowledge like I'm unhappy. I just was like, I just kept trying to fill it with something else, do something else. I'll just keep going until I figured it out. It
Yeah.
wasn't until I paused and said, I don't like what I'm doing. I'm unhappy. I'm really frustrated because
Mhm.
I'm seeing everybody around me that I graduated with, seemingly like doing the thing that they love or are on trajectory to do the thing that they love. And
Right.
I
Right.
still am not there. And I think that was the point of honesty that I had with myself, where I was actually able to be like, all right, then this is what I'm feeling. Jonathan, you did the best. The second thing is you did the best you could with where you were
Mhm.
at. All right, now what you going to do about it? What do you want to do? What do you want to see in your life? And that's the job that as soon as I created space for myself to do that, I got the next job I got was like one that I absolutely loved. Then the pandemic hit, but that's another story. But I think that there's just create space for yourself to ask to be
Yeah.
honest with yourself, to explore your emotions, to what you're feeling. That's why I try and navigate with my clients on. Um, and it seems you're like, why does that have anything to do with it? Like, what is the connection there? And again, it's all interrelated, right? We carry so much emotional baggage from um, our life experiences, our work experiences,
Mhm.
especially if we're, a black or brown person, a woman, whatever other marginalized identity that you have, like all the things that you've experienced day to day to day to day to day, you carry that with you, whether you recognize it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And so, um, once we are honest about what we're feeling, what we're carrying emotionally, we're able to like deal with it in a way, or be honest with it and have compassion for ourselves and for, those experiences, whatever. Then we're actually able to see clearer, make better decisions, and decide what we want next.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, so
Yeah.
how do you personally define success in your own career?
That's a wonderful question. I define success now by well, I have two, there's two sides to that. The first side is like I look at it through my values. Am
Mm-hmm.
I doing it? Am I in community? Am I one supporting other Black people, because that's like my thing. Like I want to support other Black people. I want to do the work that I'm doing with other Black folks. Um, so like community. What I'm doing, uplifting the people that I care about, that are in my circle, that are in my, extended circle, so on and so
Mm-hmm.
forth. Like, is there having an impact outside? Um, am I joyful with what I'm doing? Am I my most authentic self while I'm doing it?
Why you? Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. And then like, uh, am I taking away from other people? Like, am I being unequitable with what I'm doing? Like, am I not considering other people in what I'm doing? And if the thing that I'm doing, or the success, quote unquote, that I had is like, oh, it's like hitting all those, check, 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 then like
Mm-hmm.
that's success to me.
Okay.
And the other piece is like, in short, I see success through the lens of my values. Um, and that usually steers me correctly. The other part is like, even if something's going well for me, financially, I've had contract roles and like other contract stuff that like, and opportunities that people have come to me, and I'm just like, I just see dollar signs. But the thing is like, if it negatively impacts my physical health, mental health, and
Mm-hmm.
my relationships, then that thing has to go.
Right.
That can't be there. Because I love being physically fit. And like
Mm-hmm.
when I'm stressed or like stuff, I stop eating. I don't sleep well, all these different things. I don't go play that's not going to work. And then when my mental health is gone, I'm not in a good place. Because depression is real, and
Yeah.
depression for me is real. And I also love my wife. I love my family. I love my friends, and I want to be present with them,
Right.
when I'm with them. And so,
Right.
though, so like, even if it's a successful thing, if those other three things are impacted, then I'm like, nah, I'm okay. It's not worth it to me personally.
And
Yeah,
I totally agree with that.
yeah,
I a couple of years ago, I was working for a huge beauty company in
mm,
Manhattan, huge beauty company in the Empire State Building, and it just didn't help with the work life balance.
yes,
I was coming in early and leaving really, really late, and um I wasn't able to see my family or spend
mm,
time with them. I was always tired.
mm,
And I literally wind up taking a position a little closer to my home, a lot less money, but
mm,
I was happy. I
mm,
was happy doing it because it wasn't as stressful,
yep,
and it allowed me to spend time with my family, and
mm,
people, that's what's important. You have to realize what's important in life,
mm,
and make sure that whatever you're doing, that it doesn't affect what's important to you, because I see something on Instagram all the time. It's like on social media all the time. It's your company or your job will have your job posted like uh, uh the next day after you pass away or something like that. It's something like that. I think I'm
yeah,
I'm paraphrasing it, but and that's the truth.
yeah,
So it has to be a work life. You can't just work, 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 work. It has to, they both have to uh work out together, because otherwise you like you said, you're just working to live,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. Um, so what's next for Jonathan Dumas? What's
Mm,
next for you? What's on the
yeah.
what do you got cooking?
Yeah. Um, so I have something that's called the Career Joy roadmap that I'm working on. I'm
Hmm.
gonna hopefully be rolling out an email, a free email mini course. It's like over the course of 5, 6 weeks where it outlines everything I'm talking about, right? Where you ask a question, you ask a great question around, how does somebody get unstuck?
Hmm.
And stuff like that. And that when I talked about like feeling those emotions, being honest with your emotions, that's actually step one in my roadmap that I
Okay.
do. And so like I'm gonna be rolling that out hopefully in the next 2 to 3 weeks here. So if folks want to like sign up for my email list, they can get that and get enrolled into that. And then I am having conversation with my wife and then a few other people to develop potentially like a career joy retreat where we'll explore this a little bit more in depth. I'm having
Ooh.
some more like embodiment practices and exploring career. There'll be potentially some career coaching and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Uh, but that is a dream. And hopefully we're able to do it this year. But that's something that I'm like really wanting to dive into because I think that there is folks that want to experience this, that want to reimagine one what success looks like for themselves in this
Hmm.
season of life and
Yeah.
then moving forward. And so that space is just to equip folks with those tools. So I'm playing around with that idea. But again, if you want to stay up to date with me, it's like the best thing to do is like connect with the sign up for the email list. And then, you know, uh, the beta is going to be, um, significantly cheaper than when we roll it out, like the full version
So, so
next year.
what's the
So
how can people get your information, put let your
yeah.
website, put let everyone know that.
Yes. Okay. So you can hit me up. It's hey Jonathan Dumas.com. That's hey HeyJonathanDumas.com. And just sign up for my newsletter there. You'll stay up to date. Promise you I don't spam. I send like one or two emails a month. Also LinkedIn is where I'm most active.
Hmm.
Jonathan L. Dumas. Um, on there, you'll just see a tall, smiling black man. That's probably me. You can hit me up. Just say, hey, I heard you on, this podcast. Would love to connect or just follow me there. And I host like different like events and stuff like that once a
Okay.
month or every other month of equipping people. Because honestly, my again, I operate out of abundance. And so my thing is like my target audience is the people is like Black millennials who want to experience career joy.
Hmm.
But if the message resonates with you, if you're like, I want to experience, I'm not Black, but I want to experience career joy. I'm
Right,
not a
right.
millennial, but I want to experience career joy. Like, I'm more than happy to explore that with you as a coach. Or, you could just like get some of those other resources that I have. I honestly, my heart's desire is to see people thrive. And so I'm just thankful that I'm in a position where I'm able to do that and do it for a living. And so I just want to see other people experience the same things that I'm experiencing now.
And what's your podcast?
Yes. Oh my gosh. No. So my podcast is highly visible and a little misunderstood. You can find us literally everywhere.
Hmm.
We talk about big, complex things in nuanced ways. And so if you liked all the jabbering I did
Stop
today,
it.
oh my gosh, you could hear some really awesome, funny, insightful conversations over there.
And what's the
And
name of it again? Because you said it really fast.
oh yeah,
Highly.
highly visible and a little misunderstood.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the show. I'm loving it. We're about to yeah, you can get it, find it everywhere you get your podcasts. And we just wrapped up a season this season where we explored entrepreneuring while BIPOC. So, exploring business owners and their identity. What is their identity? How does their identity, if at all, influences um their business and how do they
Wow,
do that? So
that's a
yeah,
good topic right
yeah.
there.
It was fun. It was really fun. There was some of those conversations changed my life. I gotta be honest. So
Wow, that's an
yeah.
excellent topic.
Yeah.
Wow. So what my last question, I promise you. What are you
It's all good.
grateful for?
Ah, That's such a great question. I think the world is so heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about this morning, um, uh, as I was waking up. I think we've experienced so much, like in the last like 5, 10 years, 20. It's just that there's a lot that we take in all
Mm-hmm.
the time. And I think the resilience, perseverance, um and humanity of people. I think when just as many times as when we see people doing horrible, like horrible things, detestable things, I think that there's so many different examples of like where we could just be like thankful
Yeah.
and grateful. And I'm just grateful for that. Like this is a very simple example, but like there is a chicken in our neighborhood, and I don't live in the country. There's a
It's a
chicken.
chicken.
There's a chicken just roaming our neighborhood. I
Oh
don't
my
know
goodness.
if that poor chicken fell off a transport. I don't know if somebody lost their poor chicken in our neighborhood. They got like a coop and it just got out. But we named our chicken Hey Hey, it's Maori for chicken. And so from Moana, if y'all recognize that. Uh but like our neighbors, we just like started feeding the chicken. We were giving the chicken water. Like our neighbor upstairs, she gave us like she was like, I went to the store and got some feed. Do y'all want to have some feed for the chicken? So like we were outside feeding the chicken. I think that there's like these little small examples of like humanity
Yeah, yeah,
that like exists, even though we're seeing, just horrible things in the world right now. And I think that that's what the thing I'm grateful for most is like, people are going to people and do bad things, but people are going to
yeah.
people and do incredible, wonderful things and support each other and care for each other. And so that's what I'm grateful for. Long answer to a short question.
It's all right. It's all right, Jonathan. It's all right.
Yes.
Well, I thank you so much, Jonathan, for being on my podcast. And again, I learned something because I've never heard of an organizational psychologist, and now I
Yeah.
know what it is. So now I'm like, I know someone who can help you.
Yes. Hit your boy up.
I know someone who can
yes.
help you. Because
Yeah.
trust
Yeah.
me, I mean, you talked about a lot of stuff that people do, deal with in the daily workplace,
Mm-hmm.
and issues and yeah, I've seen it. We've seen people come to work and they're disgruntled, and
Mm.
that's a lot of times. Years ago, you used to hear about, what was the term? People going postal. That is, I don't
Mm.
know if they still use that term,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yep.
because they're so disgruntled or they're so unhappy, and
Mm.
so I thank you, and I thank you for the work that you're
Mm.
doing. It's a joy, and the fact that you're helping people with their careers and guiding them, that's so important, especially nowadays. And
Yeah.
I hope to have you back once you get that roadmap on, so we can talk about that. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, yeah, 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 yeah. I got like a light version of that. So if anybody who subscribes to my email list, they'll get that. But I'll probably invite folks later on. Once the mini course is done, I just got to finish writing it.
Definitely.
Uh, yeah. So yeah, if you sign up for the my email list, I'm actually gonna be doing another workshop I just did one free workshop where I outline all of this stuff. We explore embodiment practices, all that stuff. So, no, this was absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for having me on. I
You're
love
so
like talking about all
welcome.
this stuff and having conversations with wonderful people like yourself. So, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Take care.
You as well.
Until next time, remember to embrace the journey, build lasting connections, and step boldly into all that life has in store for you. I'm your host, Sheila Dunbar. Blessings to you.